guess that is the saving grace for
They're holes,
Vitality.
you know,
Yeah,
they're flaws,
exactly.
they're flaws.
Yeah. You have to bounce back if you are Vitality, if you want to, you know, keep that place as the #1 in EMEA. And I love that you mentioned it. The only time that we've seen Fnatic this year playing on Haven with this composition that we're discussing, it was against that Navi. It was that comeback that they had to perform. And not only that, it was Alpha. If you guys remember, he stood up and he said, I am not losing this. I do not care what I need to do, what I have to do. And we just saw him from the defense, just pushing through mid, pushing through C, pushing through garage. It doesn't freaking matter. He just thought, we are winning this. I do not care who's on the other side.
And if he was like that against Navi, what's he going to be like against Derka if it gets to that point?
He better not be spraying any bodies. I don't want to see that coming out of it.
He made it personal now. He made it personal.
But the problem is, that was a mental step up. It wasn't a physical. His butt was glued to his chair against Navi. And we saw every single time this man steps out of his chair is insta GG. The karma works so fast in this scenario, which brings us back to the fact that this is still a grudge match. This is still all about Derka versus Fnatic, and what are they going to play? Are they going to bring back the ISO?
Wait, what?
They will, but it's Sivov, and Safe is going to play Sova.
This is one of the things that I had in my head, because if you look at Vitality, currently, the most experienced Sova is freaking Derke. So if you go into this map, you want to keep the Sova, you have Sivov. Are you going to put him in the open, give kicks, the Sova? And the solution is keeping Safe on that initiator role, a little bit like the Deco, but a little bit less of damage and utility, and Sivov on the ISO.
I honestly am really shocked at this, and I think as well, as much as we had said that Vitality's roles are kind of smoothed out now, looking at this Haven, I don't know if I stand by that statement anymore. We have seen Kix play the Omen on a couple of maps previously, but again, it was that Sova. Who is going to play Sova? And it looks as though Safe is looking to lead his team from the front on that agent.
Yeah, I'm so surprised, because this has to be the first time that Sivov even plays this agent in an official. We're speaking about the head-to-heads that we were thinking of seeing, but this changes everything. How is he going to measure up against Alpha here?
And of course, Safe. Normally it's Leo playing the Sova. Well, Trex playing the Sova, but it's Safe doing it right here, right now. We've had a great series so far. Mitch and Tom, I cannot wait to see how this is going to end.
Well, quite a surprise. Not necessarily in the comp being run. I think it's a good idea from Vitality. It's a comp we've seen have legs, but Sivov?
Yeah, I think the desk touched on it, but Kix has only played Sova 6 times. He plays a lot of the other initiators, but Sova was never really in his wheelhouse or something that he proficiently played. So there had to be a choice made, and Safe is definitely someone who can play that initiator. But it's whether or not Sivov is going to be up to the standard. Now, aim-wise, no 100%. Question. There is not a question. But he's normally not so aggressive this round already. He's looking for that fight. It's actually Alpha here on the other side. And well, Derka, Sivov, they will combine immediately. What a start.
A scrappy start indeed, but it's sort of what you expect, right? Running this composition, unless I'm mistaken as well. This will be the first time we've ever seen Sivov play this in an official. But when it comes to ISO, when it comes to this man,
this is his second, map, right? He got, was it 38 kills on Haven as a breach? So you then put him on an ISO. If anything, it should be easier.
45 minimum. Let's set the bar here and now. Anything short of it, he's throwing. But no, like he's played unbelievable. I think individually this guy is just off the charts. Second only to Zeus in week 1. And a chance to build up those stats again here now in the role where it makes a bit more sense, where that expectation can be put onto a Kayak. A double.
Down A.
Nicely done, but anything further will be impossible with Sivov quickly shutting him down. Crashies, the last man standing. 1v3.
Planted.
And already he's going to be caught, suppressed, and taken out by Kix. 1-0 start for Vitality.
When we go out there,
see how that setup can work in that sort of team environment. It's obviously a pretty vast change, but one that they feel works the best. Just this 1-2 punch still looking exactly the same. That's the thing. It's in essence, it's a shame that we don't get to see the battle
This is how we should play every single round.
How we wanted it. And well, there you go. If there's anybody listening from Fnatic, that's how they're going to play every single round.
There you go. Someone let Scott know. Let Milan in on the info.
They're not going to stay long.
What? How could he do such a thing? But yeah, you know, you look back at last map as well, Tom, and I think like you can't undersell how bad that was for Vitality. They win the pistol, they win the follow-up 2 times, and they walk out with 6 rounds. That is astonishing. And for Fnatic, it was a big shutdown, but here on Haven, we could see the same thing. Pistol goes to Vitality. Follow-up should be theirs. This is a classic buy from Fnatic. Not investing anything, essentially. A few pieces of utility, but even then, you expect them to be held on until the next round. Reveal sees that there's nothing outside A, and the push up here from Kayak be initiated.
I think a good sign for Fnatic going forward into this match is the fact that you have seen some excellent play from Chronicle in the last. Like, he is someone that, when he's online, as I said, he's almost impossible to stop. So the fact that you're going to have this aggressive defensive side, you're going to have that combination of Kayak and Alfia looking for fights across the map, you need an anchor. You need someone who's going to hold ground, especially on a map like Haven with 3 sites. Chronicle is your man. So that's where I'm going to be focused, even though it's very easy to look for the craziness of what we brought forward. So I think he might have missed that lineup when they were going in the first time. Well, not in the previous round, in this one. So I think that was just to see if he could do it again. I don't even know if that actually had any value. Yeah, I think it was just like, let me check I got my lineup correct.
Fair play. Sometimes it has to be done. Down to the spike. The rest of the Fnatic members go, and this is the early round formalities out of the way. Low buy from Fnatic. Vitality do well to not step into a trap. And now, the full buy from both sides. There was
look, there you go. There's the first one.
No need to show that.
But that's the thing. I like the fact he goes back and goes, let me just check that. Yep, okay, that's right. There he goes. Does it again?
Right click is to bounce, right, guys?
And that's obviously if there's any trip up close, that will remove it from position. So, but I like that. You've already won the round, so you go, okay. I'm you know, getting the rust off. No, I'm not really playing that Sova as much nowadays, so I don't mind it.
150 credits just to check. Why not? It's a low investment.
Baller.
So here we go. Fnatic, they get the rifles up. And on the defense, this is where things really start to heat up. Alfier on the ISO, a big challenge for anybody to face off against, as we have seen a million times over. Betting Crashies, an interesting call. The flash up from Kayak, they're going to swing deep, but Vitality are playing super passive, allowing them to grab that early information. The rotation now from that gate crash towards the C site. The step back on A as we slowly see Alfier look to reinforce.
Look how high this trip is. I don't know if anybody, because you're going to have the cage probably popped off rip. They've already got close enough that it's not going to matter as much. Just utilizing that gate crash, basically running in, destroying the trap, and then falling away back towards A. It will hold players there for sure.
There was a moment where it did look like Alfier was going to go towards spawn, fill in the gap on B, but they're relatively confident with leaving C kind of open. And then the B side had 2 players on it. No contact, no moves. Well, okay. Boaster says you can go on over and help out that A site. Kayak's now here, 3 players. Boaster even starts to get an inkling that this could be the A hit, and so he's now ready to pop the paranoia. It's perfect, but Vitality still come ahead. They cannot expect these numbers to still be here. Now they will. Alfier was the one to find a kill with Boaster going down. 12 seconds left. The plant needs to be found. The spike on backside and undeniable. They ran into almost the entire team. A dump of utility and big swings from Fnatic. But Vitality, they've dealt with everything that came their way. And a 3v1 where Chronicle, as good as he's been, seems to just be locked out.
That's incredibly impressive. This is Fnatic's first buy round. And what basically happened there was they sold the fake on C, but I think it was Kayak then jump peeks it, just goes and checks. It goes, I have seen nothing. So I'm going to rotate to the other side of the map. Then they rotate a 4th player in. And if you have that much of a stack and you come out with 2 kills, well, either you've done something bad or your opponents have done something incredibly well. And I think that, again, we're seeing the heat off of Sivo very early on in this game. I think it can be a brutal sort of switch if you go onto that ISO and you start badly, especially as someone who's used to having the Omen, used to having extra util to maybe back you up. This is all about those firefights. Well, he's 4-0 right now.
Not a bad start from him, and a phenomenal start for this squad. Again, look at that. They deal with Durka. One of the big problems creating that extra angle to fight from. Paranoia hits. Oh! He just saw him before it landed. And even then, Alfie are finding that one kill. The fact that they had a late player coming up short played perfectly into Vitality's hands because they're able to spot out the last guy, the fourth player, the one that would surprise you normally. He gets one, and then he's dealt with. Wonderful stuff for Vitality. An inspiring round for their squad, no doubt. It's not just the fact that they beat down the first full buy, it's that Fnatic read that play perfectly, stacked up, and it still didn't work. Now they've got a light investment into this one. Chronicle saved over that Vandal and has the regenerating shields to bring him back up to fighting form, but early on, Vitality again avoid any of this early aggression from Fnatic from going down in those fights, and it looks like they have picked the easier of the sites to push towards. That's the rifle for Fnatic though, and Chronicle picks up the kill.
Not a bad start. So, weapon down.
Spike planted.
Potential to utilize what they've got. Unfortunately, there's no ultimates, and even utility. You're kind of looking at, you've got the dart back online, a drone. Paranoia would have to be sublimely placed. Kick still has one remaining. Is wary that they're already coming in from behind. In fact, though, it's going to be that short play, but Sivov again. You talk about this guy already being, I think it was 4-0 going into this round, but he's fighting aggressively. He's facing off against opponents. Oh, okay. Kayak eventually gets the job done, but Sivov is just flying. Another added to the tally, another round for Vitality. 4-0 now in the lead, which, considering how that round started, that could have been a lot more costly.
And what I love about that is as soon as the Paranoia, which was well placed, landed on the site, the immediate swing from Sivov.
Yeah.
He was there for his teammate no matter what. Happy to take the brunt of that retake force. And, well, he dealt with them, well, it seemed to be easily.
I'm back!
4-0. Vitality are back in the driver's seat.
This is said I'm back when Sivov got a triple kill in a round and earned his ult.
They've got one.
I'm back, guys!
There's the shock landing. Good job they tested it earlier. Kayak knows there's players coming his way. Has a gate crash to get out of there. Decoy not going to be working. They know that he's here.
Yeah,
they saw the reveal, and yeah, time to get out.
I guess the only benefit there is some utility. Chronicle's got to be careful. I don't know if he's realized how far forward into the site he has managed to get. Sivov fighting up against Chronicle. Well, he has not been missing so far. Kayak still at the back of the site, though. Has been able to get one and escapes once again. The second gate crash utilized Durka. Seems like he might try something cheeky of his own.
Yeah, but he's conscious there's either a player or perhaps even the player he was just hunting down on the other side of the smoke. Doesn't want to emerge from it. Ultimate activated from Kayak. Gonna clear out a lot of space. He didn't clear the corner.
Check.
But Les doesn't know. He doesn't know. He just knows that that player ran out there. He panics. He pops the cage. Information at least goes their way, and Kayak realizes, hearing the steps, that there's still one outside garage. We'll look to crunch on him later. And the push with the smoke up, Fnatic, they stand a decent chance. I love that from Alpha. The wall is going to block them all from spams completely. It's almost fully diffused, but Alpha's been taken off the spike. A second player crashes, steps in, and he steps out just as quick. Sivov with a 3-piece in this round. Vitality are hammering Fnatic into the dirt.
It's actually crazy that we talk about this squad and the fact that Trex has been a highlight player throughout VCT EMEA for the past few years. They pick up a man from the Tier 2 playing for Mandatory who was doing very well. 3rd place in the first EMEA challenges. And now he's coming in against Fnatic. 10-0. 2 kills a round at the moment for Sivov. And they're not just like your run-of-the-mill eco frags or like picking off players who are already stunned or flashed up. That was integral kills to stop them defusing. He's delivering on the highest level right now.
Well, the conversations we had about Durka and Kayak and the storylines between the two, the pressure on Kayak to fill the boots of Durka while Durka wants to take his boots back. But really, for someone like Sivov coming into this map up against Alpha here on the ISO, one of the best ISOs in the world, you gotta think that even if you can exist in his shadow, that's a success. But right now, he is shining a new light on Fnatic. Fnatic with a decent step up from Kayak. 2-piece already, Les and Durka down and out. But the man who's yet to taste death, Sivov, still alive and weaker weapons. Still what they're working with. Nothing recovered by that defensive side.
Both Boaster and Kayak being able to get something, but not able to fall back into things. The shield helping out massively. Hunter's Fury utilized and will pick off Sivov. It's an investment, but that has garnered a reward. And you can see the long run around from Crashies. He's hoping to try and find a weapon on his way back, or potentially box them in. The rest of the players are going to have to wait for him to get into position. That time will continue to tick. And that also means that they won't have his utility until he reveals himself.
Very much worthwhile, though, with that smoke put down by Boaster. Cerebral, well, I thought because he could sneak his way through, but the reveal is needed, broken, and some information to work with here. Trade starts out well. Crashies on the recovered rifle, but now he's the last one standing safe, looking to run away. Has Hunter's Fury, if he can get to safe distance to activate. Instead, he's looking for the kill, but Crashies made the read. He suspected that's where Safe would take it, and with enough time to bring this across the line, Fnatic are on the board at last with a pay safeguard thrifty.
Incredibly close. I think those early fights being taken, utilizing the Sheriffs to great effect. But then it was that response, and also the reaction with the Hunter's Fury. This was just absurd. Like, both just spamming at a box and ends up taking Durka for his money. Less with maybe a little bit of a late check of that corner. Solid work from Crashies, finding one with a Hunter's Fury and a couple more. They're on the board.
Let's go,
It took them some time.
This is the evac round. Let's go.
Looking for two.
Alfia believes this is the moment that things will change. Have to wait and see. This attack has been devastating so far.
That's hilarious. I think the reveal got stuck on the decoy, and because it hasn't got line of sight, you're not getting revealed by it. So it's able to push up on the back of it. It'd be confusing to look at from the other side, but I guess Chronicle wasn't that confused. He's just wall-banged Durka straight through the boxes, through the wall there, through two walls. You can see the holes just fading now. Not a bad opener for Fnatic, and they still have that operator of Kayak lurking into the late round.
Looking at the kill contract as well.
Nowhere to
Potential
run.
from Alfia to make this fight more awkward. Solid work though from Safe. The lineup might have been missed once, but the Hunter's Fury will put them back at level peg. And Alfia, in the meantime, though, has managed to re-aggress and find less. This puts this into just the players looking to make their way into the B site. There goes that kill contract, looking for the fight, looking to try and take the battle, and he will win it at that. A clean sweep with a double from Boaster. Fnatic start their climb.
One step at a time from Fnatic as Vitality, well, Sivov, he's not immortal anymore. 11-2. Still, though, if he can just find a fraction of the flame he had moments ago, this could be a very different game we're looking at. That was nasty. I don't even know what he's shooting at. I didn't see him either time, but fair enough. And a big play by Boaster in the end. He had one of the best openers. I think he was 14-3 at the end of the first half of Split, somewhere along those lines. Didn't slow down that much as the series, or the map, well, the map that felt like a series went on. You have to think that stamina would always be a problem in a match like this. It's gone the distance, and we're on map 3, but both teams, it doesn't look like either are pulling punches.
They proved as well that a 5-0 start doesn't mean jack. Like, both of these sides are very comfortable in streaking rounds back together.
I got the spike.
But the last map was far more dominant for Fnatic. It's been a slower start. That's much better though. Safe already dealt with. Now pushing back into this stacked up A side. It was where they had mass success in their bonus round. Even walking into a stack of players, their execution was sublime. See if they can get anything done here.
Close corner. It's going to be cleared by the decoy at least. And Sivov the one to win that battle up against Alfia. Ult activated in the kill contract. He's been good in these, but Boaster, in a heater of a series, doesn't stand a chance against Sivov. 4v2. Fnatic seemingly locked out, and the much more direct approach from Vitality has worked wonderfully.
A-side takes have been really impressive. Space taken by Durka, then Sivov on the follow-up. It seems like somehow an even deadlier combination than when we had Safe on it, which seems ludicrous to say when you look back to again, the #1 and #2 duelists of the year. Coming out of last year, but it seems like, again, the youngsters come up from that Tier 2 scene and prove that there is such a wealth of talent within EMEA right now. What was looking like the start of a comeback for Fnatic has quickly been dealt with. And honestly, if I'm Vitality at this point, there is a part of my mind that goes, do we just fight for A every round? Because that's the second time. What was it? 4 players stacked up there the first time.
Yep.
This time it was 3 players stacked up there. And okay, sure, there was an ult in the mix as well that dragged the player into a 1v1, but other than that, it has looked very, very easy for them to take that control.
Still, the ult dragged them into a 1v1, and I guess stopped that from being a double peak or at least a refrag from backside, sure, but they'd also lost long control. So that player on backside, although they get pulled into the kill contract, they had a choice. Fight short with my teammate and get swung on the left side and die, or fight long, and it's still 2 1v1s. Situation doesn't change. So I think that push, very effective from Vitality. And like you said, 2 times now, we've seen that. We've seen numbers be there, and it didn't work out. For Fnatic, something needs to change in terms of that A-hold. And I think, yeah, that is the typical response, right? Start pushing up and taking the early control, or post your operator there in the early rounds. But again, there's problems with that. I mean, just look at how Vitality are pushing into those long-range angles. You're often going to see that wall come up from ISO, just completely blocking you out. We can just see standard long smokes go down. The responses and reactions, but there's plenty of them for Vitality with the comp that they're bringing to bear here.
Makes it a lot more difficult. And the other thing as well is like going for those long fights when there's going to be the opportunity for Sivo to potentially have the double tap available. He is 13-2. Like it can come down to as simply as shooting him in the face. It's not an easy thing to deal with, especially for Kayak going in with a lack of shields. It does seem like Fnatic though are going to try and respond to what has been that A pressure. They have set up 4 players to battle for that early control. The problem is, it's only the lurk that's currently there from Les. Instead, an initial fight for Garage in what looks like a C-long fight.
Exactly as you said, Fnatic do go for a long control. They push up, and now they find out it's the other side of the map that's being hit. But I guess we get to put to the test Vitality's post plant. Double tap, the shield that ISO has will not be online as it's already been activated and no success found. So Seabuff at least will be a little easier to take down. This position, key for Vitality in the late round. Less's lurks, we've talked about them, they've been impactful, and yeah, they're gonna clear the standard side. Will they clear the left though? For now, the answer is no. Oh, the timing! He went to his cam just as Chronicle swung out, and now the ult indeed gives all the info to Fnatic.
Dimensional Drift has been picked up by Durka though. If they are going to try and defuse, he can ping exactly where they are already. The spam's coming through, already knowing that it's halfway, but just shoot me, my friend. That's all that's really needed. Well played by Durka and Safe, a duo as deadly as ever. And what was looking like a possible round after Les was cleared quickly turned to ash.
Yeah, I mean, they were pressured by the time, but once Vitality have an ult like that, you can't be defusing the spike on the other side of a smoke. And they would have to be some silly gigs.
Right here.
And he goes again, look. Crashy's, I know he has almost no choice based on the time, but I think you just run away and save at that point rather than stick it. An easy reaction from Vitality, and look at how happy Faded is with how that one went. The guy that sometimes keeps his emotions in check, but he couldn't help but crack a smile there.
Stood in the spot where the shock dart has been going every round. That's rough for both.
Great play.
Yeah, immediately gone. Like, maybe not having that info, but that's a rough way to start the round.
If he doesn't have that info, it's going to be conversations with Chronicle, because it's his trap that's getting dealt with a lot of the rounds. I think even as a cam watching it happen, so he's just going, oh yeah, Boaster, it's great. Yeah, you should hold from there. Yeah, we'll hold it together. I'll swing on your contact, yeah?
Remember when you made me do those dances? This is my revenge. He has gone walkabouts. They do still have a couple of guns. Boaster wasn't the biggest threat in this round. They are patient to mod the jump up from Althea. It's not been the best map for him so far. I think of the ISOs, there hasn't really been a question which one has taken over. Chronicle's rifle is still well positioned, but is slowly moving away. Will have heard utility being popped. He's going to hope that he can try something a little bit spicy, a little bit tricky, knowing that there's a player on the other side. I think that only ended up breaking the shield. That's unfortunate. Oh, for Crashies. Spoke about his individual level looking stellar. I don't know if it's up to this standard.
Maybe he pops the Hunter's Fury and takes down 4, you know, who knows? But I think if he did pop the Hunter's Fury, we'd have to pause the game while Fnatic pull a sub onto the stage. A questionable decision. I can't believe Dirk has just done that. He saw him and didn't even bat an eyelid, just jumping around for the bait.
He's done that a couple of times, though. I feel like Dirker is one of those players where I hear a lot of people go like, I'm not a stats guy.
I don't care about stats, bro.
I genuinely think he doesn't.
No.
Like, as long as
if he cares about stats and does that.
Yeah. I think the first number, like how many he's killed, I think he cares a bit about that.
Well, he could have had another one there.
True.
Look at this. He takes his gun out. Hey, hey. Oh, God.
Yeah, you're getting Dirk kicked. Interesting.
Yeah, let's run that one back. 8-2. Vitality, well, they've even got some flair to their gameplay right now, and I'll tell you, it can't feel good to see Dirk doing that up against you. You know he's having fun, and you want to quickly put that to bed. 2 rounds left in the half. Vitality, oh, they lose the opening pick. Seavoff down. Who steps up to fill the gap? Boaster onto Durka. Kicks. He's had some good maps so far. Boaster's barely making it out, and they won't be able to hunt it down. Alpha pops the double tap, sends in a vulnerable 2. A real opportunity, and with the Hunter's Fury landing onto Kicks, this round seems to be cemented in favor of Fnatic. Some real heroic gameplay needs to be found, and Safe, well, he's certainly going to give it his best shot. 2v3.
It's Hunter's Fury as well. Using it in this spot's always going to be difficult. Less field dimensional drift thrown in. They're going to have seen the aggression. Boaster can just wait on the other side, and now Less, he's got to pull off a miracle. Nice shot for the first. Even trying to wait for that dimensional drift to end, but it was well timed by Fnatic. It took a moment for them to get back onto that board, but they will see themselves up to 3 at least.
Yeah, again, the foundation's being built 1 brick at a time. 1 more needed for Fnatic to have that 8-4, 1 more to be contested for. And it's this hold working out much better. You know, the direct hits from Vitality have been successful a lot of the time. Well, I mean, everything's been successful for Vitality so far. Trying to get in there and force the issue, they very much met their match. Seavoff falling in the early round, well, that seems to be where hope fades at least somewhat. Guys, 14-4 at the moment. We came in questioning, you know, oh, can he match up against Alpha here on the ISO? Well, he has done leagues better so far. I think he might have as many kill contract eliminations as Alphair has just kills.
Oh, that's unnecessary.
But it's true.
It is.
I think. Maybe it's not, could be 2 out of 3, but still.
Tide can always change. As we've seen in map number 1 especially. Some momentum on the attack for Fnatic, and who knows where this series ends up. I would be a fool to count out either of these squads, but it does seem like the mentality of Vitality right now is just flying. Confidence, having fun. So looking at the position though of Alpha, it's a setup of almost like a bait of Crashies who's played this spot before. The A-site holds have really not been going to plan, but maybe if they can catch out Less, it will be a slight improvement.
Oh, they see exactly where that player is. Happy to take the assist. Crashies being spammed up, and the shock dart finds him. Vitality. Oh, they still have a problem to deal with. Ultimate put through by Alphair, and he's managed to pull Kicks into a battle for his life. The shots don't land though. Then it's Kicks to return with Safe on the triple. It's enough to put Vitality 9-3 up at the half.
Yeah, it's not looking great for Fnatic at first half, with much to be desired, and the new boy on the block, Seavoff, thriving, Safe alongside him as well. But there is still a second half to come. If you're a Fnatic fan, you best believe in curses.
It's the first time I beat him, guys. Ever.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Welcome back, folks. An uphill battle ahead for Fnatic, moving to the attack side of Haven, but 6 rounds down. What a performance. We talk about debuts, and for Sivov debuting in the league, he blew our socks off, and now I believe in his debut on ISO, he's doing just the same. It's really impressive to see this guy play, but both teams as well, and I feel like this has been true series long, maybe less so on Lotus, where, again, Vitality just found themselves throwing bodies into brick walls. But it feels like we have this, especially on Split, constant rethinking of the strategies, constant evolution round to round. It's been fun to watch, but let's hope Fnatic have got a big learning experience about this attack side.
The scary thing is the last 4 pistols of the 5 have gone the way of Vitality. They have been dominant in these early rounds. Only the very first went the way of Fnatic, but they need to try and match up with what will be the last one. That's not a bad start. Althea, a quiet first half, but he's already going to open up in the pistol.
On the attack as well. If anywhere you want Althea to be confident, I think this half matters the most. Aggression is necessary. You will be the point of the spear. Double tap activated. In goes Kayak first, though. He's got the full HP to work with, and not anymore. A cleanup of the double duelist moving through the double doors. And Vitality even find Crashies with Sivov on a huge kill. Fnatic way behind now. This started out with an opening duel, and they've got nothing ever since.
Never expected 2 players to be sat behind the door, and Garage is such an unusual position to see 2 people stand. Again, in a buy round, you'd probably never do that because of the risks with utility going through, flashes, etc. But in this case, less gambled on it. Boaster trying to bait out,
30 seconds left.
Push through spawn as well. They're hoping to try and find a fight, but the majority of this roster has looked to group up for Vitality. All 4 players wrapping around mid, and the double tap is just a goal to sell the idea that they're on B. Maybe there's a small chance for an isolated fight, but it really comes down to Chronicle here. Did he get seen?
He's gone all the way around. No, he's not being seen. Now he has. Sivov picked off, and Les, sure, finishes him off eventually. That's going to put Boaster in a bit of an awkward spot. They're not going together, despite kicks being very low.
Oh no.
Durka swinging alone goes down too! Boaster with the lifeline for Fnatic. The Red Bull clutch, and he's dropping it back on the stage. Oh, goodness.
Oh, that's crazy. It's only the one coming out of Chronicle as well, and I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a sixth sense, but if you watch the way that Les ends up moving, it seems like he's aware that somehow Chronicle is behind. It becomes...
Boom, 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 yaka!
Irrelevant is what I was going to say. It becomes irrelevant when you have Boaster doing stuff like that. They needed someone to give them a lifeline. They needed someone to win them a pistol. And it's the man dancing on your screen.
I really hope we are going to go back to Milan and Scud there and see them imitating the exact same
I think
move.
they twerked just afterwards.
Yeah. I think so. We cut the replay short. That's... Look, send it to me in the DMs later. We'll get that one sorted. Vitality 9-4. Fnatic win a pistol that they didn't seem to have any right in winning, especially with Chronicle not having the mass value that it seemed like he needed. But Boaster, good in the clutch and good in this series as well, has given them a lifeline. Vitality, take classics, 5 of them. No real investment to this round, and honestly, if they end up winning it, let's just call it there.
Don't want to get danced on too many more times. It can't be good for the mental. Fnatic's goal with 3 rifles, 2 pistols is just to keep this clean enough. Doesn't have to be the greatest round you've ever seen. They lose a pistol or 2 and that's absolutely fine. You can see the defense, they're attempting to swing back in. I like the usage of the vulnerability. Well, Durka, with any other gun, I'd say he's got an easy pick-off. Instead, he's been seen. This now becomes much, much tougher.
That should be impossible, especially with the classics. Durka can't do anything long range. Down to just 1. Kicks happy enough to find a single kill. Boaster's low. Some opportunities, perhaps. Oh, desperately close to connecting, but it won't land, and so an extra rifle saved over. But that was really the only question, was it 2 or 3? Maybe even 1 if he had a big round. 9-5, Fnatic 4 rounds behind, but here's the full buy for Vitality, and let's not forget, even in that pistol, they were able to find mass amounts of value in the late round. I think this is going to be a big challenge for FNC.
We are feeling it. Oh, I can feel it in my face.
I'm glad that's where that went. I was very worried about what was about to happen, but we ended up in a good spot.
The team doing the censorship do a great job. I don't think anything ever falls through the cracks.
Never.
This is the round that matters. Fnatic, this bonus is basically as good as it gets. Okay, sure, no ultimates built up other than the From the Shadows, but having rifles across the board, Boaster teleporting into the site. This is a very aggressive start to the round. In fact, they'll get the plant in on B without too much resistance at all. Incredibly quick to get that done, and now we look for what Vitality will respond.
They've at least still got that trap to cover off Garage. Even despite that, Durka's not happy with control. Can't just fight in from a few angles. He wants to open this up a little bit more, but he's fighting into heavy Fnatic territory. Sivov, the return of perhaps the king, certainly on this server, but he's been put down quickly. Returned by Les, keeps it doable. Boaster and Chronicle put this to bed though. And Les, despite tapping, he is quickly out of there. No real chance to take this across the line. All he wants is the weapon for the next, or perhaps damage, because he's got a fight brewing, and now they know right where he is. He'll make it out with 50 HP. It looks like he'll even carry the weapon forward.
It had something, but that round from Fnatic, I love it. It's just so direct, so quick to the point. Like, a lot of the time when you play up against a quote-unquote bonus, even though it was 5 rifles, you have the expectation that maybe your opponent's going to play a little bit slower, try and feel out the map a bit, and then look to work the picks. Instead, they just go full sprint. I guess they didn't catch that one.
Is it hot in here? What? 3 rounds.
What time is it? We passed the watershed? We allowed to put this on the internet? 9-6. That was such an integral round, though. Les is going to hold on to the rifle. That's all they really have to play with. On this defensive side, ultimate's also starting to build. Alfia wasn't happy with the space that was taken. He wants to really sell the idea that this is a heavy commitment in towards the seaside, but with nobody pushing anywhere near the smoke, I think Vitality will very quickly realize that that was a ruse.
Well, the shield was broken. Alfia was stepping back, but for Vitality, exactly like you said, they made the read. Seaside's been left open. Gradual shift towards the right side of the map. Right where that Fnatic hit is coming through. 2 players on site already, rotation in from Kicks. If you're gonna make it work in a round like this, Les with a rifle and his setup to play off and support of many, many players, this is exactly what you would want once he doesn't take his cam out before the fight. He's ready once these cages drop. Vandal could catch them off guard, but it doesn't even get a shot fired before Kayak steps up to the plate. A nasty little double, and Durka won't get anything from behind, bar the one. It's certainly not enough to slow the gradual push of Fnatic, 2 rounds behind. And Vitality, they might be starting to sweat a little bit. We're coming into a bye round, but if this one falls away, then we could be neck and neck.
Yeah, we're seeing an almost identical start. It was 5-0 for the Vitality team. They've said how little that can matter at times, but
enemy remaining.
Took a
Nice,
pretty hefty response.
Good job, bro. Bro, I feel like Pipson running around. I have no clue what's going on.
What? Nobody send that to him. Nobody send that to him.
Yeah. No,
I want to show that to him next week with the 2 of them in the same room.
Oh my god. I don't idea.
That's incredible.
Boaster definitely doesn't know he's being outed right now.
Boaster, mate. That's the most toxic I've ever heard Boaster be. I need more of that.
That's crazy. Wow, look at the pace. I think they've had the realization, similarly to the last half, that this A side has been incredibly difficult for both sides. And with a more direct take, well, Dirk is way too slow to realize what's going on. Chronicle removes safe, and this is basically round over. There's still a minute left on the clock, but are you going to try and fight back in with 3 of your players still standing? No Yoru, and you don't have yourself the Sova either. It just doesn't seem worth it. They've just got to save.
What just happened? Like, genuinely, what just happened? Durkin must have heard him go backside. Must have heard him come out of his ult. Was he hit by a paranoia and I just somehow didn't notice? It's a slip up and a slight, like a couple second reaction in it, but that's going to cost you the round immediately. And you can see Vitality call for the save right off rip as soon as they lose that sight. Even just the utility that Fnatic will, in their heads, still have left to play with, there's no point. And add to that, Alfier's got his ult, so good luck defusing.
Wow, they're looking for the guns now. Rightly so. You are looking at a 5-0 lead, and well, hello. That's where one of the guns are. But they also have so many credits in the bank. The rest of the team are going to look to try and trade this one out. Not quite. Les will hold his ground. Give him a tight angle, give him a position to play within. Well, it seems like it's going to be a slow, what has been a very, very fast-paced Haven so far. Much more direct approach from Fnatic, but it really does feel like right now Vitality is struggling to deal with it. You can kind of understand it in this round where you have a dimensional drift to get you into position, but the round before they did a very similar thing. A hit towards that A site, even with a stack in position, the execution has been fantastic. And well, the only thing slowing Fnatic down is that technical pause.
Yeah, the climb back is significant. We have seen it before. The 5-0 start and a half for exactly the same team as well. Vitality faced down the barrel of this on split, ended up sweeping back and winning out in overtime.
This map as well. We're looking at exactly the same thing. We are mirroring the map. And well, the 6th was where we saw a response, and Vitality are still going to have a purchase. I think the other thing as well is maybe at times you'd look at this buy and go, okay, most of them have light shields, there's a Bulldog in the mix as well. Do you really want to go for this? Do you want to go for a lighter buy? But it's the ults. Like, you have most of them 1 or 2 away. Very high impact if they can get there. So I don't mind them at least investing a bit. And, well, in this case, it's majority for some players, but just to make sure that they can make this one competitive.
I love the difference in players as well. We get to see a lot of folks down on that stage, and when the timeouts are called, some players lock in, some listen intently.
Some have a nap.
Less doesn't change at all. It maintains exactly the. I think he might be a statue. I'm not sure much moves other than his wrists when it's game day, when he's on that stage. You should see him on the court. But I love the difference as well with Kayak.
What court would that be?
Basketball court.
Okay, basketball. It could have been tennis.
It could have been. I have no doubt that he can play it. But the difference as well with Kayak, you know, you always just see him lounging back. It's like he goes to his happy place. I want to know what that is.
No, he's lying back and he's imagining these Aspas.
Many of us do that. Not just during the
Except for him, it seems like it's at least within reach. Whereas for me, there's many dreams. I'd take just the hair. I don't even need the Valorant skill.
You say that about a lot of people.
Yeah.
This is a nice spot.
It's understandable. Well,
that dream died a long time ago.
Fleeting youth.
Oh, nice.
9-8. Let's get existential with it. Dirk is down on mid. Picks up Boaster.
Spike down mid.
The opening pick for the side of Vitality, something that's been missing in some of these rounds. Their opponents hot on their heels.
I think that missed. Yeah, it did.
Yeah, nothing found from Alpha yet. That was their attempt to bring back the advantage, at least in neck and neck.
It was very close. I think it was literally a millimeter off from catching out Kicks and potentially even things up. That would have been maybe a controller down on both sides unless Kicks managed to win the duel. And, well, he said it in a previous clip that he's only won it once, so maybe not believing that that would be the case. A stall out from Fnatic, and interestingly, Kayak is so much further forward than anyone else. Still a jump spot from Safe, just trying to get them extra information, but I think he's missed anything that could have been there, and I think realizes it as well because he's going to fall back to the site instead.
A drone up through A long, that is the spike carrier droning, but intention to go back, exactly. It's a ruse for Chronicle to embed deep into short and play that late flank. He'll get a great opportunity by the looks of things with the cross coming in, and indeed, he catches Durka. Chronicle with a valuable pick for Fnatic, putting them back into a reasonable position, but it's all falling apart on the site. Kicks interrupts the fallback, and then Seavoth has the door wide open, steps through the frame, and puts his fist down. Fnatic, they were climbing back into this, but the gap has just gotten a little bigger. Vitality on double digits.
They really are mimicking each other. It's crazy that the way that this game has gone is both teams having a 5-0 start on the map and then the next one breaking back. And I think a lot of it just came down to Durka deciding, okay, I'm taking this one into my own hands. Sure, gets caught out by a lurk, but it meant that it almost forced Fnatic into a slightly more direct take, and both Kicks and Seavoth were very, very ready for that to happen, both around that position. I think especially with the kill contract being used to try and clear it out, there has to be something in their minds. That'll be their first round over on the defensive side, and that's it. They had a lot of ultimates that were close. Well, all of them, bar the Neural Theft, are now online.
Flowing on the way, and they are certainly committing to it. Sometimes you can just gate crash out of Garage. We've seen it attempted before, and this time the exact same thing happens. The double tap about to fade. Alpha, he's not getting greedy. He doesn't swing in as many a player would, and it might have been a mistake with Kicks so close. Hunter's Fury, blindly thrown in, cancelled with one more burst. Safe was trying to bait anybody that might have lurked up short. He's still scarred from that lurk from Chronicle in the previous round.
Oh, nice. Okay. He's had the read. Drone goes out, but it doesn't give him much more information. When you have a Yoru pushing a spot on the map, it can very easily be a fake, and that's so unfortunate. I think he's just teleported away, so waiting to try and catch someone with that kill contract, and there will be nobody even remotely close to that position. Fnatic have tried that bait, succeeded, and now head into just one man. That man will be less.
Luckily for Seavoth, he had the trigger discipline to not just fire the ult through into empty space. Hunter's Fury, it's not even Hunter's Fury, it's Boaster with the trade, but because the ult's online, Seavoth gets another shot, double tap, not available, but Seavoth finds the pick, and now comes back in, ready to brawl. Fnatic have their work cut out for them at 2 versus 3. Happy to run that clock down a little lower, but the plant very much needed by this squad now. 10 seconds. They know that someone has to plant, and when they do, they're removed from the fight, but they'll do it on eliminations instead, taking the fight to the backside. And Fnatic hot on Vitality's heels again.
There are moments that are swinging this game back and forth, and that was definitely one of them. You mentioned it. Seavoth holding his ultimate for a rainy day in the end, just about being able to put it into position, but is this late call right down to the wire. 8 seconds on the clock as they look to take these final fights, and even a little bit worrying that in the middle of that there was a reload coming through. 10-9. Fnatic break back immediately, and well, with a few of those ults already expended, Hunter's Fury gone in the last round. I think the TP was used as well. And obviously the kill contract for Seavoth, everybody's back on level pegging again, except for the problem, the economy running out. for this defensive side.
Mid push from Durka cancelled out with the gate crash. They don't see early contact. Now, like this from Fnatic, just the early freeze. Gotta say, in that last round, backside C push, the main thing that stands out to me is many players would make the assessment of, we can't really plant here, we have to just fight. But they do that individually. Fnatic move as a team, even in that moment of panic, 6 seconds on the clock, and they made the right call. Drone on its way around. It spotted 2. They know that there's heavy presence here now, and with Sivov often playing around this position, maybe they'll put 2 and 2 together and realize that, well, Chronicle's space that he's taking might be more valuable to them. With 40 seconds on the clock, though, it's time to make a call.
Smoke's gone in. The spike is heading back towards C. They are selling this as a giant ruse in towards the A side. Of course, the majority can just leave, and they have fallen hook, line, and sinker for this one. Only one standing. It will be less. Might be able to try and hit the timing, at least on one of the players, but Chronicle baits him in with the removal of the pin. And now they have that post plant. A 5 versus 4. Dimensional drift immediately used for Durka to try and clear some of these angles. Knowing there's a player on site, Alfia is already going to drop another teammate though, and this is looking incredibly problematic.
Big plays needed on the site, and it's Alpha still lurking around to find the value. Sivov with an unbelievable performance on ISO, and he'll get the defuse to halfway. They've even got the side angle covered. The swing out, though, instantly deals with him. With Durka done in by Kayak, there was no hope left. We started out with more OTs than I care to count, an 18-16 scoreline. 4 OTs needed, and we may need the same here, Tom. But if you look at the timeline, well, you said that they were doing exactly the same. 5 rounds, then the win back. Well, since then, the tide has turned back into Fnatic's favor, and it looks like that defensive round from Vitality might have been a flash in the pan. Add to that the fact that in the next round, this one here, Vitality don't have money. The lead back in Fnatic's hands, all they've left to do is to close it.
Speak about the 9-3 curse, but most of the time that's just been a meme. This has been an absurd resurgence from Fnatic individually. We have seen the depth that this roster can bring, and on the other side of things, Durka's been trying to pad the gap, but that's now a whole lot of aggression. 3 rounds in a row with a mid push, punished 2, the third got away. In this case, trying to literally put the world on his shoulders. The problem is he's got that rifle, but if you don't teleport out of there, there is no real way to retrieve it, especially if Fnatic just hold onto that ground. And I think they will have had the spot onto safe. So they're just pausing again. This spot could be dangerous. Nice shot from Les.
Here.
From the A side, but the spike's still very far away. That's time running off the clock, and Chronicle wants to make up for it with space. It's dangerous against a weaker buy to play like this, and that's a big mistake. Even the Tracer's easy to follow back on, but Sivov steps in to take the pick. An immediate response, though. Boaster and Kayak cleaning this up before it gets too dangerous. Les lurking inside the smokes, and he steps out with Kayak waiting. 11 rounds for Fnatic, and what could be one last big buy for Vitality to put a stop to this win streak. An incredible amount of rounds with just 1 scattered throughout for Vitality. They need a solution, and they need it now.
And that win streak doesn't just take into consideration today. That is a streak of 6 consecutive victories through different rosters, through Durka being on the team, to leaving the team, to joining Vitality, to making a Masters. But this is the first time he's faced off against Fnatic, and I'll be honest, there's not been a good day for Durka. He had his moments in that first OT. That was where he really looked to step up and take over the match. And while with a pause on the board for Vitality, he's the man we look to again, because let's be real, we talked about this 1-2 duelist punch. Well, it's been a 1. Sivov has been incredibly impressive. In fact, you look at Alfia on the other side, he's been having a rough time. But then, the man who replaced him, Kayak, has been unstoppable. 19 and 14, the depth of this Fnatic roster showing the resilience as well. It's always going to be more difficult to continue when you make that player swap, but I don't think there's been any proof of that here today. For Vitality, as you said, They come into this one with a buy, an attempt to stop them, but you then look over at the ultimates and they're not going to have any of those to help them out.
It really is a day for the young guns, forged in the fires of Tier 2. Now they've come here to bring that chaos to the server. For Fnatic, 11 on the board. The chance to put themselves on the green and just tap it in to close us out. But it's this buy round that Vitality have hinged everything on. They've just had a chat with Faded. Their last opportunity, I believe that's both their timeouts burned up.
Who's next? Cutting through.
This has to work. Whatever iteration we see, it's aggression from Durka down on A short. Kayak commits the ulti, and that's a big problem now. Even though he gate crashes to spawn, they have to be worried about this for the rest of the round until that's fully cleared. It keeps safe in position deep into the round, only now starting to leave that A site, but it's this push that's made up for the gap that was created. But they're watching it. Kayak, eyes in the back of his head, and Boaster on Deceived, the big player for Vitality, put to bed early.
And they immediately look to fall back, already seeing enough for them to know that this could be a ruse. They're trying to run the steps over to A and make them commit in this direction. Look at them running all the way down as if this is the play. It really does seem like a Boaster masterclass in so many of these rounds, just baiting their opponents, baiting the leaders of the Vitality squad to believe that this is going to be an A commitment. Instead, now those two players who sold the ruse look to run back, and they're still waiting for less. They're waiting for a flank on a site they never even took.
Unbelievable. You come into a round after a timeout knowing, boys, this is where we have to stop them. That was the idea from Vitality, but look at how it's fallen apart. They won't even come close to the site where the spike is planted. Not even close to B. Up in heaven, they sit and wait for this round to come to a close. And even then, they don't get to sit safely for long. Alphayer is here. He's looking to make it more costly, and he's hit kicks. The 1-2 punch perhaps to put the economy in the dirt, and he's landed it! An end zone, flawless from Fnatic. This seemed to be Vitality's final hope. A history that they hoped wouldn't repeat here today. But it's written in the stars now. Fnatic with 2 chances to close out this series.
I want to say as well, to give even more credit to Boaster, after the last 2 maps...
And Cron Hunt. Me and Crashies will cuddle and make love.
After the last 2 maps, I think you can genuinely say this has been some of the best attack side calling we've ever seen. Like, 100%. Think back to Lotus, the consistent switch-ups, redirects, and bamboozles, and well, wow. Durka thought, again, that's the second time he's just been matched pound for pound. That was literally the flank last time coming up, and then he purchased an Outlaw to beat the other team's Outlaw. It truly is ridiculous how almost in his head Kayak must be at this stage.
You see all this money for Fnatic and Vitality go, okay guys, we can get utility and get some decent weapons, take the half shields. And then the first pick goes to an Outlaw and you're like, uh-oh. Well, a lot of us are in a pretty vulnerable position, but Fnatic...
This is everything. Sivov needs to try and win this battle. It's him versus Chronicle, and it's Messi! And he knows it as well. That might be the beginning of the end. Chronicle's able to hold on to mid control, but the team weren't just sitting waiting. They weren't watching while they took that 1v1 fight like we were. Instead, there's now going to be another. It could be another nail in the coffin. The problem is they lose one more. It's left all on to less. The import, the man brought over from Brazil. A Champions winner who has suffered defeat at Fnatic before and will suffer it again. We look as Vitality as a favorite going into this series, but history repeats itself for a 7th time.
That's got to be heartbreaking, Tom. After Split going the way it did, Vitality digging deep to fight back into that map, taking an OT after facing so many map points. And then the last 2 maps, although this one 13-10, that second half, there seemed to be no way for it to go but into Fnatic's favor. Sivov with a debut on ISO, performing phenomenally, but it just wasn't enough.
Think about the Boaster pistol clutch. Think back all the way to then. A 1v3, I think it was a 2v4 as well. that if they lose that, I think this is done. I think that Vitality just steamroll over it, but the leader stepped up. I think we talk a lot about his individual stats, but I think throughout the day he has been sublime, whether it is the statistics ending this map 17-12, having high impact overall, but also I think the calling was honestly sublime. And then again, we always wanted to see what Kayak would do when he stepped onto the stage versus the man that seemed irreplaceable. But he had a star-studded performance today and even a little jig to finish things off.
Oh, it's good to see Milan and Scott joining them to soak in the celebration in front of the crowd.
He can finally have a rest.
Good to see an Irishman down on that stage. It's good to see Boaster popping and locking it.